Okay. Um, so I was gonna actually make another video, another type of video, but there's this guy I kept on coming across on my YouTube feed, and I'm always intrigued, and I'm always intrigued by people who quote unquote deconstruct from the Christian faith. I'm always intrigued. Like, okay, what did you find that made you not Christian anymore, not believe it? And I'm like, okay, let me look into it. It's interesting. It is interesting. Um, so I was watching this guy's video, and his YouTube is called, let me see, the Omnist Rone, I think. And he's a young black guy, and he makes videos about him deconstructing his faith and why, and so on and so forth. And I was watching this video, and I couldn't help to just listen and really see the flaws in his arguments. And I ended up leaving a comment. And then I had a thought. I'm like, you know what? Might as well just make a video and expound on those comments that you made. Let's make, I guess, whoever's gonna watch, this is a thing. You may come across this, and it might even cause you to doubt your faith, because certain people who are quote unquote Christian, who believed and so on and so forth, who no longer believe, it can make you be like, oh man, question and stuff like that. And I think this is a good way for me to show how to really, I guess, depict one's argument and see the flaws within it. Well, let's get into it. So I think I was around right here where he started saying some things.
Great little video idea,
I'm a
right?
little sick.
And, shout out to Christian Smith. He said that I did a very great message or a great response to a video that wasn't done in the right faith. Like, it just wasn't, there wasn't good intentions behind the video that Eric Mason had made. And I have seen a couple of videos from Eric Mason before, because he have made videos responding to black people who have basically made a lot of ruckus, according to him, on the basis of deconstructing Christianity and leaving the faith and coming to the understanding, excuse me, coming to the understanding that Christianity was enforced on a lot of our ancestors through the transatlantic slave trade and through slavery. And I remember seeing him on the Lecrae show and just had a whole lot to say to our generation who ain't standing for the BS. We're not standing for that. We're not going for the old, just a regular smuggler of what the old generation just had to grasp and hold on, get them by. We have come to an understanding that our ancestors had spiritualities. They had upon systems and upon ideas on the concept of the world. In
so this is coming the first point that he's gonna bring about. You see, I'll let him speak.
We live in, and even furthermore, they never believed in a God. That God concept came from the Europeans. We understood that there was a divine force or an essence that sustained all of life, but we never believed in a God. We believed in a supreme force that had many faces, many names, many forms, but we never believed in a God. And I find that to be very interesting, that we can acknowledge that our ancestors had systems upon systems that were arguably more advanced and complex than what you see in Christian theology, but you're still not willing to look into it. You're still not willing to ask questions. You're still not willing to research and study into what exactly did your ancestors used to believe in before their name changed from Kunta Kinte to Toby.
So that's the first point. Sure, our ancestors used to believe in something else totally different, and not Jesus Christ and not Christianity, so on and so forth. Sure. Does that automatically make what they believed in to be true or right? How does that automatically make them and what they believed in true? Or even make Christianity false? Just because somebody may Just because somebody may believe in something, right, doesn't automatically make it true or right. That's not how we determine whether something is true or not. You understand? There's many people who, let's for example, what did the Nazis believe in? Jews are all bad. Only people who have the white skin and blue eyes should live and are the superior race. They believe that, and they went as far as to go kill millions of Jews. Were they right? No, they weren't. We know that. Was what they believed in even true? No, it wasn't. We know that. So that's just the first point, but we're going to continue.
You was indoctrinated before you became a good Sambo. Who were you before you were put on those ships? Before they put you in chains?
Even because for me personally, I didn't. Yeah, I knew there was a God or whatever, but I didn't really care about God or Bible or even truth much. Just did whatever feel good and did whatever that the trend was or whatever the case is. I don't even know if I had a belief system. I probably did, but I didn't think too deep about it. Even me, whatever I did believe, I guess I probably believe that, being one of them, being promiscuous is probably the best thing to do, right? To have sex with a whole bunch of women, that's the best thing to do, right? Or to pornography, so on and so forth. Is what I believe true. Like, even this is before God. This is before Jesus Christ. Before I guess I indoctrinated myself, but nobody really indoctrinated me. But before I believe that, I believe that, being promiscuous is probably the best thing to do. Basically, like, just live a pleasure lifestyle, right? Does that make it true? Does that make it right? No. Let's continue.
Who are you? And that don't seem to be a question that irritates or confuses or makes certain Christians uncomfortable.
Another thing I just thought of, I'm sorry. Also, who is to say that our ancestors didn't indoctrinate the others, indoctrinate them with their belief? You know what I'm saying? That might be a point to cut out, but I don't know.
It made me uncomfortable. That's why I dropped Christianity at 17 years old and never looked back since. But for whatever reason, you have people who are 30, 35, 40, and 50 who can hear me talk about all these different things and they won't budge an ear or budge an eye. They just will not be caught off guard to understand those type of things. It might be the cognitive dissonance. Who really knows?
Yeah,
but it just really alarms me when I have looked into.
I can agree with that. There is people who like, oh no, you're just wrong. You're just wrong, and not really the reason. Oh no, you're just wrong. Those people, okay, that's you, and you can, all right, but not every Christian is like that, or not everybody is like that. You know what I'm saying? I believe we're actually called to defend our faith, so I think Christians should be less shallow and more deep. So,
to that type of research, when I have seen what these Europeans have done in the name of Jesus Christ, and Christians just have the nerve to just tell me, well, that wasn't God's fault. That wasn't Jesus' fault. Those were just the people. Those were the people who somehow God allowed to misrepresent him and to corrupt his name and give him a negative reputation. How could you allow something like that to happen? How could you allow something like that to happen for 400 years and then some? How could you allow that to happen? Like, that is irresponsible on God's part to allow people like Christopher Columbus and these other conquistadors and the Portuguese and the Brits and the Germans and the Scottish and the Dutch. It is irresponsible for you to allow all these different people to do a lot of heinous acts, a lot of atrocities in your name, which leads me to believe that this God had to have condoned, had to have given the okay to these Europeans.
So that's the second point. He believes our God, or the God of the Bible, is now irresponsible because he allowed people to misuse his name, quote unquote, which led him to believe that this God must have given them the green light. Yeah, that's good. So let's break this down. First, the question is, now let's say God were to strike every time somebody misused his name, or who didn't depict him correctly in the name of him, Christianity, and he killed them off just automatically. He did that. He just killed them off. This is why that we got to be careful with putting God on the judgment seat. First, because we can be subjective with our judgments. Well, no, I think he should have done this. Well, no, I think he should have done this. Well, no, I think he should have done this. Let God be God. He knows better than us first. And as well, if he were to do that, kill everybody, the people who put him on the judgment seat, you know what they would have probably done? Judge him and say, he's so cruel. Why is God just killing people like this? He's cruel and he's judgmental. They do that already with the God of the Old Testament, quote unquote. Oh, he was killing people off. Oh my gosh, man, he's a psychopath. Putting him on a judgment seat. So now he's mad that God is allowing people to do that. You see? I'm going to talk more about it, what I really think it is when it comes to that, but I hope you can recognize what I'm talking about. The double standard in a sense. It's like we just want to judge God, huh? Because I believe we want to be the God of our own. Like we think we know what's better. You could have done this better. You could have done this better. Yeah, some people might agree with him. Yeah, he shouldn't have. Boom, boom, boom. And then some people might be like, no, I think it probably would have been best for him to allow it. Or maybe we just don't understand exactly why he allows it. Now, you see all over the Bible that Jesus Christ didn't force anybody. When people rejected him, he let them. For those who received him, he received him. He said, you must. He just said he invited people. Right. And we also know in 1 Corinthians, when he talks about love, that's one of the things he says, love is not forceful, man his own way. So we know that God is not condoning this. Matter of fact, in the Old Testament, I think maybe in Romans talked about it, but in the Old Testament as well. But God said the Gentiles blaspheme him because of the misrepresentation that the Jews, they were called to represent God to them, but they were misrepresenting God to them. Therefore, the Gentiles blaspheme God's name. Could this be something that's still happening, right? Because Christians who are supposed to represent God's name are misusing his name. Could be, which means that yes, that matters. How we do that matters. How we show Christ matters to others. They look at God now funky because you represent him and you're doing something that doesn't represent him. But they also have to acknowledge, I guess we can't be thinking, or trying to represent ourselves as perfect to others. So when we do fall, they shame God or whatever. But at the same time, unbelievers will be unbelievers. They're gonna do that. They're just gonna, aren't you using your God? Whatever. That's just what's gonna happen. So it's not, you can't fully remove yourself from that. But that's the second point. Let me get back into this.
Tell me, well, that wasn't God's fault. That wasn't Jesus' fault. Those were just the people. Those were the people who somehow God allowed to misrepresent your name. They had to win over on indigenous people in the Americas and in the Pacific Islands and in parts of Asia and in parts of Europe. So we have to come to an understanding of what exactly negatively impacted Black people. Of that is if we deconstruct.
And like I say, hold on, let me say.
Via Christianity. And the only way that we can come to an understanding of that is if we deconstruct.
No. So again, just because people, I'm gonna say that argument again, just because people misuse them, how does that make therefore now Christianity isn't true? Therefore, That isn't again doesn't make it not true. You understand? Yeah, these are things to think about or whatever the case is. But again, like I said, you're just gonna put God in the judgment seat, whatever he does. Gonna nitpick it. I think he could have done this better. I think he could have done low. No, you're not God. You don't know everything. You don't even know how much hairs are in your head, bro. You don't know everything. God does. The one who created this, he created our brains. So it is better and logical to trust in him rather than ourselves. Because then this stuff happened. And it's not bad for you to seek the truth or to ask questions. You may find answers, but you also have to understand where you're at. You cannot puff yourself up.
Construct, because we will not get the answers we are looking for in the church, not from old shucking and jiving and tap dancing and butter biscuit eating pastors. No, we're not going to get the answers that we're looking for in the church. We're not going to get the answers that we're looking for in Bible study. We're not going to get the answers that we're looking for in most of our family occasions. Not at the cookout, not at the family reunion, not at Thanksgiving, not at Christmas. No, we're not going to. So we got to go and actually do the research for ourselves. We actually have to go on YouTube and do the research for some people might right now. Some people right now are on that voyage. They're on that destination to deconstructing from Christianity, which is why I have my deconstruction bundle to help those people out there who are actually looking insight and the guide that they need to process leaving the faith, to process the ideas and concepts, conjured up certain questions and ideas around their faith, because you're just supposed to accept, compromise, and walk by faith. That's what they tell you.
Yeah, whoever says that is not right.
You're not given the resources and the tools to think for yourself.
You are able to think for yourself. You are able to think. You are able to, when you look at the Bible and have questions and dig deep and understand and ask people and also ask others. That's nothing wrong with that. Where it becomes wrong, and this is what I think people are trying to say or trying to communicate when they say don't question God, is your heart motive, is when you start lifting yourself, think that you know more than God. You could have done better, or so on and so forth. And we all, in a sense, if we're honest, can struggle with that. God, why didn't you do something this way? Why didn't you do it this way? We all, in a sense, struggle with that. But we also have to understand and tell ourselves, but I am a man. I am a creation. There's a lot of things I don't even know about myself, about the world. It's a lot of things. The only person who would know everything only could be the creator of everything.
Ask the real nitty gritty questions. Not why did God allow this to happen? That's not what the fuck I'm talking about. What even is a God? What even is the Bible? Why did a supreme and universal creator feel like it was needed for him to take one small specific tribe out of the millions and billions of people in the world? He wanted to use one small specific tribe to interpret the whole world. Could you imagine trying to interpret the whole world through hip hop?
So I didn't watch the whole video. I'm gonna see if there's any, but I'm just gonna keep it with it. I don't want to make these videos too long, but I'm gonna keep it with those two arguments. If I see anything that's maybe worthy of me, I guess to me worthy, I'm not saying in a prideful way, but to me, like, okay, I'm gonna make a video about this and I will. But yeah, tell me if you guys let me go. Yeah, tell me if you guys like this type of video, this type of content. Also, yeah, like I said, I mean, I like to watch these type of videos. It's good to spark your mind to think and to reason and to be able to defend and see the flaws within somebody's argument. Again, if you're watching this, bro, again, I'm willing to even have conversations outside of like YouTube or something like that. Like, yeah, so you seem like a cool dude and stuff, but I just think that you're very wrong here, to be real. And I think we may be elevating yourself too much. despite our intellectual questions or questions that we have that we don't really know about God or whatever the case is, we can always go back to the core message of Christianity, the core message about and what God did for us, right? We all can agree in our conscience. We can all agree in our hearts that we have done something wrong before in our lives. We all can agree, right? And we all can agree that there is wrong in this life. We see people murdering, doing wrong, heinous acts. We believe that those people should be judged and so on and so forth. We have a conscience. We see that there's things that are wrong with the human, right? Humans that do wrong, but we're not all honest about ourselves and say that, okay, I may not be maybe as bad as them, but I'm still considered bad when it comes to perfection. We all can agree that the law of God is good. You shouldn't lie. You shouldn't steal. You shouldn't commit adultery. We all can agree that, yeah, we should do these things. Yeah. Right. But we don't always. So now that's when the good news steps in. We don't always do right. Matter of fact, sometimes we want to do wrong and we do wrong. We do evil. We're liars, stealers, so on and so forth. Now, God, in his perfection, just like how we would get angry if somebody does harm to us or harm to the ones that we love, God is also angry and just at the sins and the wickedness that we do. He sees it, he cares about it, and he said that he will judge it. But because he does not want to condemn us, he doesn't want to. In Ezekiel, I believe he talks about how you think that he likes when the wicked get destroyed. No, he said he wants them to turn and live. So because of that great desire of God of wanting us to turn and live in his love for us to be redeemed and to enjoy him, he became a man. And him being a man, he lived perfectly. He lived perfectly, a life we could not live. And then now he gets condemned on our behalf. So now him going through that condemnation of now bearing the wrath or the justice of God onto himself, we're able to be set free from that. I think even a baby can understand. It's simple. This message is very simple. And we can understand it in our hearts and in our conscience. So because of that, now we're able to live forever. We're able to live forever. And him being condemned, he didn't just stay dead as well. He also came back alive. And that was the biggest sign, the biggest miracle that anybody can do in this world. That's why we're in 2026 right now. Before Christ, AD, right? That event was so big, split time. You know what I'm saying? So so that's the message, really. And if you repent, if you turn away from the bad things you do, turn away from your sin, turn away from trusting in your own self, and you place your faith in Christ, you put your trust in him, God promises to save you. Jesus already paid the fine. Now you are saved. So when his judgment comes, and when you pass away, or Jesus also promised that he will come back, and when that happens, you'll be free. You'll be all right. You'll actually be on his side. We actually have more confidence because he actually even died so he can have a relationship with you, even here on earth. So that even gives you more confidence that you will be saved, that you are with him. You are his friend. That's what he calls us. He calls us his friend. He also calls us his children. So God greatly loves us, and he did that for us. You understand? Yeah. So I'm gonna stop here. I don't know how long this video is, but I'm gonna see more of his video, see if he has any more arguments or whatever. But yeah, I just wanted to say that. All right, guys, have a good day.